We all know the story of modern digital burnout. You stare at a screen, your brain floods with digital stress, cortisol spikes, and a hormonal cascade gradually degrades your physical health. We usually trace the origin of this physiological timeline back to 2007, when the smartphone first put an endless feed directly into our pockets. Following that, the rapid expansion of major social platforms seemingly cemented a direct line between the apps we use and our collective physical and mental decline. But researchers at the University at Buffalo and Ohio State recently tested this timeline. They pulled physical blood samples from hundreds of participants and mapped those biological markers directly against their iOS screen time data. The results revealed a massive anomaly. The data showed the arrow of causality actually points both ways. High levels of systemic inflammation in the body accurately predict and actively drive an increase in social media usage weeks later. The prevailing belief frames screen time as the source of modern sickness. The clinical data reveals that excessive scrolling is actually a biologically driven symptom of underlying physical disease. Medical professionals refer to low-grade systemic inflammation, or LGSI, as a silent killer. It occurs when the body's immune system gets stuck in a perpetual state of alarm, constantly fighting an invisible threat. This prolonged immune response is rarely triggered by a single severe illness. It builds up from mundane, everyday lifestyle factors: a steady diet of highly processed foods, chronic sleep deprivation, physical inactivity, and even untreated gum disease. Scientists track this condition by measuring the blood biomarker C-reactive protein, or CRP. As lifestyle stressors pile up, the liver pumps out more CRP to signal widespread inflammation. To fuel this internal defense, the body initiates a drastic energy conservation protocol, essentially starving physical capacity. When your immune system is activated, your brain actively sabotages your physical energy levels, trapping you in a state of chronic, inescapable exhaustion. Here lies the core conflict. While your body is desperately trying to hoard energy, your brain still possesses a non-negotiable biological imperative for social connection, known in psychology as your affiliative needs. Meeting up with friends in the real world is incredibly expensive. Face-to-face interaction demands massive amounts of physical, emotional, and cognitive resources that a highly inflamed body simply cannot afford to spend. This chart reveals the brain's workaround. Energy required for face-to-face interaction towers over the physical toll of social media use. For introverts, navigating real-world dynamics is already taxing. With systemic inflammation, that energy cost shoots off the chart, making social media the only affordable option. There is also a secondary multiplier for individuals who score high in neuroticism. Inflammation naturally increases the brain's hypervigilance toward potential threats. To avoid the psychological risks of real-world rejection, the inflamed brain actively drives these individuals toward the highly controlled, curated safety of a digital feed. The sudden, undeniable compulsion to sit in the dark and scroll for hours is an evolutionary survival mechanism at work. Your biology is simply trying to balance social survival with extreme energy conservation. This diagram illustrates the ultimate trap. Poor dietary habits, stress, and lack of sleep cause inflammation. That inflammation forces you into energy-efficient screen time to meet your social needs. That excessive sedentary behavior generates even more stress and further restricts physical movement. This is why standard digital detox advice usually fails. Most people view this as a failure of willpower, a psychological quirk of the digital age. But recent medical research reveals this behavior is actually driven by a newly discovered biological trap. The condition is called low-grade systemic inflammation, or LGSI. It's a silent, chronic state where inflammation travels throughout the circulatory system, acting as a potent driver of heart disease and autoimmune flares. Our screens are causing physical inflammation in our tissues, and that exact chemical shift forces us to keep scrolling. Recognizing this as a mechanical, biological cycle is the essential first step to disrupting the loop and reclaiming your health. The loop begins with the brain's HPA axis, your central stress alarm. It cannot differentiate between a physical threat and a digital one, so it pumps out cortisol in response to algorithmically amplified crisis content, just as it would for a real-world emergency. This study from Brain Behavior and Immunity identifies C-reactive protein, or CRP, as the blood biomarker proving digital stress causes physical inflammation. University at Buffalo researchers found tracked screen time directly correlates to increased CRP levels over 5 weeks. Social media consumption functions as an active physical stressor, directly altering cellular health and leaving the body in a state of chronic biological alarm. There is a central mystery to this loop. Why would a rising CRP level in our blood compel us to open the exact apps that stress us out? The answer lies in the behavioral immune system. This evolutionary survival mechanism was developed by early humans to keep them alive during injury or infection. When the body detects inflammation, it triggers two biological commands: avoid physical contact to prevent spreading or catching pathogens, but simultaneously seek social support to ensure survival. Social media hacks this command by offering the ultimate pathogen-free social affiliation. An inflamed body craves connection but fears contact, driving the user back to the screen to fulfill that social need without the physical risk. The doom-scrolling trap is an ancient, hardwired survival mechanism, drastically misfiring in a modern digital environment. This two-part loop is a tactical advantage. It means the cycle can be broken by attacking either the digital side or the biological side. Breaking the digital side requires cognitive immunomodulation, treating your digital intake with the same strictness as a physical diet. To stop the initial stress trigger, establish rigid boundaries, set strict exposure limits, disable autoplay, and use filters to reduce the reach of distressing content. Some developers are now creating AI-based health apps that monitor these lifestyle habits, using gamification to help users track and lower their systemic inflammation. Protecting your digital environment shields the HPA axis, stopping the stress response before the inflammatory cycle can begin. The second method is to calm the physical body, which chemically removes the primal craving for digital stimulation. High cortisol from digital stress kills off beneficial gut bacteria, which are responsible for producing 90% of your body's serotonin. Repairing this gut-brain connection through an anti-inflammatory diet is essential to restoring your mood and neurotransmitter balance. Specific supplements can cool this brain inflammation and stabilize the stress response. A protocol of magnesium glycinate, omega-3s, vitamin D3, and curcumin helps extinguish the inflammatory alarm. Physical movement provides the fastest circuit breaker. Just 30 minutes of moderate exercise reduces inflammatory cytokines by up to 40%. By understanding the chemical reality of this loop, you stop being a passive target for algorithms and take active control of your own neurobiology.